Good evening. Parshas Balak contains one of the most beautiful prophecies of the entire Torah. Although the prophecy of Bilam was forced upon him against his will, we marvel still at his articulation and his sublime eloquence. Matovu ahalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. How goodly are thy tents, O Jacob, thy dwellings, O Israel. Kinechalim nitayu, keganot alei nahar, as valleys stretched out, as gardens by the riverside. Ke'ahalim nata Hashem, ke'arazim alei mayim, as aloe planted of the Lord, as cedars beside the waters. These are not mere expressions of poetry, but rather from here the rabbis derive actual mitzvos, the mitzvah of creating a mikdash ma'at, or a synagogue. The ohel, the tent that is described by Bilam, refers to a place of worship and where we would hear the Torah reading. Darach kochab mi Yaakov, v'kam shevet mi Yisrael. There shall step forth a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel. Umachatz pa'ate Moav, v'karkar kol b'nei Shet, and shall smite through the corners of Moab, and break down all the sons of Seth. From these verses, Maimonides derives, to a great extent, the 12th of his 13 foundational principles of our religion, the belief in Mashiach. Lo habit aven b'Yaakov, v'lo ra'a amal b'Yisrael. Hashem Elokav imo, utruat melech bo. None hath beheld iniquity in Jacob, neither hath one seen perverseness in Israel. The Lord his God is with him, and the trumpeting of the king is among them. These verses form a major part of our Rosh Hashanah Musaf prayer. And yet, for all their glory that these verses furnish the people of Israel, they are still considered inferior to the prophecies of Moses. Why should that be the case? Indeed, the Medrash implies that Bilam's prowess in the field of prophecy, at least from a technical perspective, was indeed superior to that of Moshe. Rather, says the Medrash, Yesh hefresh ben nevuato shel Moshe lenevuato shel Bilam. There is a major difference between the two prophets. Moshe lo haya medaber imo ad shehu omed, shenemar va'ata po amod imadi. When Moshe prophesied, he stood on his own 2 feet. Ubilam haya medaber imo kishehu nofel. Shenemar machazeh shadai yechazeh nofel uglu einayim. Bilam, on the other hand, needed to be lying down on his face when he received his prophecy. What's going on? What difference does that make? So in a beautiful lecture, Rabbi Soloveitchik, of blessed memory, explained that the significance of these 2 methods are truly important. Yes, Bilam was a prophet. He spoke beautifully, but his personality was totally disconnected from his words. He was in fact a vile and disgusting human being. He had nothing but hatred and disdain for the Jewish people, and had no interest in their destiny. His speech, therefore, was on the level of a mere machine or an actor. Such an orator is a mere tape recorder, a mouthpiece. His lying down symbolizes this, the fact that he was physically distant from any of the beautiful words which he uttered. Moshe, on the other hand, says Rabbi Soloveitchik, was more than just a prophet. He was an agent, the messenger of Hashem. Interestingly, in halakha, in order to be appointed as an agent on behalf of someone else, such as an agent to deliver a get or perhaps initiate a marriage for someone else, the court asks the agent to please rise as he receives his verbal agency. The agent must be in a standing position to demonstrate that he is an active participant in this particular mission. If he is seated, that might show that he's not taking his agency seriously enough. So standing is a very important part of his profession. Moshe ultimately was an agent. Indeed, Moshe performed a double mission. He was the agent representing Hashem before the people. He was also the agent on behalf of the people of Israel before Hashem. Moshe at times had to be critical of the people of Israel and to apply strict justice toward them as the agent of Hashem. However, as the agent of the people, he empathized with his charges. He felt their pain and was willing to give his very life on their behalf. Moshe's dual role was not contradictory because ultimately Hashem himself applies strict justice to the world, but is simultaneously a God of mercy and love as well. Moshe, if you will, had to stand erect on his own 2 feet, representing his 2 agencies, both of his roles. And for that, the Torah praises him with the epithet, V'lo kam navi'od b'Yisrael k'Moshe. There rose in Israel no one on the level of prophecy as Moshe, Asher yado Hashem panim al pamim, as God knew him face to face. Bilam, on the other hand, is not even dignified with the term prophet. He is referred to as Bilam HaKosem, Bilam the sorcerer. Perhaps during his divinely inspired panegyric, he was intoxicated with the thoughts of Hashem. But as soon as that spirit left him, he remained unchanged and even advised his employer Balak as to how best destroy the people of Israel. Ultimately, the beautiful words of Bilam are sanctified in our holy Torah. We are willing to take the good, even from a bad source. As the saying goes, we'll eat the fruit and spit out the pits. But it is ultimately to the visions of Moshe to whom we truly respond, because he not only recited prophecy, he lived the 2,000 years of exile with us. And when our story ends with a happy conclusion, he speaks not only at us, but with us as one of us. Shabbat Shalom.